First, I'd like to say welcome to everybody who's in the room, everybody who's joining us virtually. If you're joining us virtually, we're coming to you from the 8th floor of our port headquarters building in the Chinook conference room. It's a great event. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is a great opportunity for us to celebrate and recognize customer service success that we've seen over the last quarter. So for those of you who are here, congratulations. This event is really for you. It's intended to appreciate you and thank you. This event really has two parts. First, we're going to have a great guest presentation. This particular quarter, we have Lisa Caselli from Customs and Border Protection, who's going to be talking about the Blue Lightning Initiative. So I'll be introducing her in just a minute. But if you're joining us from home, please drop us a like, share this video out, and comment in the comments so that everybody can appreciate and revel in the glory that is today. So for those of you who are in the room, I'd like to say thank you to the Country Cat for catering. Let's give them a round of applause. You know, their house smoked turkey and pimento sandwiches were absolutely incredible. So I'll go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. Lisa Caselli serves as an officer and program manager in the U.S. Customs and Border Protection External Engagement and Initiatives Office. She's responsible for oversight and policy of the Carrier Liaison Program and is the CBP Law Enforcement Representative on Human Trafficking Blue Lightning Initiative team. Officer Caselli represents CBP on national travel and tourism issues such as wait time modernization, migration, and oversight of policy. So Lisa's actually joining us from her home in Virginia. So welcome, Lisa, and we're excited to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Hi, good day, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining for this presentation. I can't see you, so if anybody has a question, just shout it out. Like he said, I am the law enforcement representative for Blue Lightning Initiative, and I'm going to talk to you today about what is human trafficking and then what your organization can do to make a public awareness about human trafficking. I only have a short time, so I'm going to use my New York fast talking to talk, and I'll give you my presentation at warp speed, and we could follow up with questions if you need be. So human trafficking uses fraud, force, or coercion to obtain labor or commercial sex. Victims can be any age, race, ethnic, socioeconomic, but we do say that anybody under the age of 18 is automatically considered a trafficking victim if it's in the commercial sex environment, regardless if they consent or not. They're automatically considered trafficked. So fraud, I'm sorry, those three words get me my tongue-tied. Force, fraud, or coercion. Force is when you physically force somebody to do something. Fraud is when you perpetrate some kind of communication on them, saying that you came for one job and you get another. Or coercion. If you don't do this, I will hurt a family member. So those are the difference between those three elements. And those three elements must be had when we get a human trafficking case. So let's just talk quickly about human trafficking. People hear human trafficking and human smuggling, and they think it's the same thing. But I want to say that human smuggling is a crime against the border. So the person who's coming knows that they are committing a crime, and it's a crime against the border, and it's transportation based. So they actually are coming, crossing an international border on a car, plane, boat. They're actually crossing a border, and it's voluntary. Like I said, they know they are doing this action, and it's a crime. Trafficking, on the other hand, is exploitation based. The person, it's crime against the person, not against the government authority. The person doesn't know they're being trafficked, and it's involuntary, and it's happening in your own neighborhood, and it's no border crossing is required. It can be a border crossing or it cannot be. It doesn't matter if there is or not. It's not one of the elements of trafficking. So, like I said, there's sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Sex trafficking is any commercial sex act, like I said, force, fraud, or coercion. The person is induced to perform some kind of commercial sex act, and it could be anywhere from prostitution to videos to phone sex to pictures. They're forced to do something in the commercial sex industry. Labor trafficking is recruitment, harboring the person for labor, but they are using those three elements: fraud, force, or coercion, to make the person commit a labor act through one of those elements. And those could be anywhere from massage parlors to hotels and factories and agriculture workers, and basically any industry where you have people are working. It could be a labor trafficking situation. So when I talk about trafficking in general, what are we looking for when we're in the travel environment and when we're in the airports and we're in the travel environment? So we're looking for these are just the common indicators. There's a lot more, but these in the travel environment, this is what we're looking for. Does the person have control of their documents? So I'm not talking about a family member traveling, husband, wife, 3 kids, and one person is holding all the passports. I'm not talking about that type of controlling the passport. I'm talking about, does the person not have access to their document? For instance, when you hand the document to the person with them grabs it from them and says, I'll take it. That type of situation where they don't have the document in their possession or in their control. So I'll give you another example with labor trafficking. They go to work in a farm, and then when they get there, the person takes their documents and says, okay, now you have to pay me for transportation costs and now housing and food, and I'll hold your document until everything's paid off. No freedom of movement or social interaction. When you ask a question, do they look at you or do they look at the person with them to see if they can answer the question? Now, mind you, this is not, you have to take in cultural norms with situations. I'm talking about outside cultural norms. So if no freedom of movement. Let's just talk about in the general airport. You're in the airport. When you're traveling with your family and with your friends and you have to go to the bathroom, what do you say? I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Watch my bag, right? That's what you usually say. You do not say to your spouse or your friends, may I go to the bathroom? I have to go. Can I go to the bathroom? So that's the difference between freedom of movement. When you're doing a social interaction, you just go and do something. When they're not, they're asking permission to do something that just sounds funny. In the convenience shop, they want a water. You with your family say, I'm going to get this. It's not a little kid saying, Mom, can I have this? Can I have this? It's somebody saying, I'm thirsty. Can you buy this for me? Or I'm hungry. Can I have it? It's different connotation than with your friend or with your husband or spouse saying, can I get, here, take this. I want it. So freedom of movement. And then plans, when you have people articulating plans, do they know where they're going? Do they know what they're doing? Do they know who they're meeting? Just general movement of their plans and what they're doing, where they're going to be going. When you travel, just think about your own travel. And when you travel, you know where you're going, you know what hotel you're going, you know what you're going for, business or vacation. If you're going on a vacation, you have a pretty idea of what you're going to be doing. And so you just think of your own travel and what's normal and what's outside of normal. And then the last common indicator in the travel environment is relationship. Does the relationship appear genuine? Think about when you're walking around the airport. Think about when you're around the traveling public. Kids get off of a long flight. What are they doing? Either they're tired and grumpy or they're running around with excess energy. Right? Very, very rarely do you have a well-behaved child just standing there next to their parent, not saying anything and not interacting or have any type of interaction. And then when you look at the parents, is it a genuine relationship? Now, I'm not saying don't start calling out parents. We've heard in the news recently about people calling out parents because of different races, and they don't think that they're a parent. Don't do that. You want to make sure these are just indicators. These are just something to say, wait, this doesn't look right. So you all work in your environment. You all work in your specialized place within the travel industry. So I want you to think about what you do during the day and what is normal that you see during the day when you see different days of the week happen and when you see different times of the day. So you work there every day. You're going to know what's going on. You're the expert at in your area. So you know what you're seeing. You know what's going on. You know that Thursday mornings it's going to be really light, but Monday mornings we're going to be slammed at work. I mean, you know that. So when something out of the ordinary happens, you need to really listen to that or pay attention to that and say, oh, wait, that's not normal. Maybe you can't articulate what it is that's wrong, but if something is out of the ordinary, take a minute to look to say, wait a second, that doesn't seem right. I don't know why yet, but something seems wrong. And follow your instinct and do some more research to say, why is something wrong? Because you're the expert in your area, in your part of your world, your work world, you're the expert. And I can't come in here and tell you what you're going to see every day of the week. You know what you see every day of the week. You know what's common, what's not, what's unusual, what things look like. So when something looks off, you need to pay attention to that, even if you can't articulate it. So having that general background before I go forward, I don't know if you want to do questions now or do you want to do it at the end?
Little pause for questions. Yeah, Miranda, go ahead. I'll say the question back. So go ahead.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about what to do if who to talk to or how to report things in a safe manner without tipping the person off?
Okay.
I feel like we just haven't gotten there.
Yeah, maybe, but that's a fair question. The question being, are we going to get to what are some of the key indicators that we look for when somebody is potentially being trafficked and how to respond to that or who to call?
Yes, that's what the next part of the presentation.
All right. Sounds good. In that case, I think we'll probably carry on unless anybody feels any questions on this part. No? All right, Lisa, we're good. Carry on.
So what I just talked to you about are indicators. Now I could give you the website where there's more indicators, but I don't have much time today, so I'm just really compressing everything. But I can give you the website where you can have more information. But we're just compressing everything today because of time. So the Blue campaign is a national awareness campaign, and part of that is the Blue Lightning Initiative. The Blue Lightning Initiative is the aviation industry initiative on human trafficking. So we have 135 partners right now, and we've trained over almost 400,000 people. And what we do is we give you a virtual training module that you put on your training platform that talks about all these indicators. And it's like it says 17 minutes, but I think we advanced it to 22 minutes. And as a BLA, and once you're a BLA partner, you'll have access to that training, and each person could take a virtual training and they'll go into in-depth about all the different trafficking indicators of what you'll see. And we signed an MOU, and it's for everything I'm talking about right now is free. There's no cost to it. So we identify human traffickers and the victims, and then we report them to the federal law enforcement. So we have over 100 million awareness materials we distributed, and we had the materials in 28 languages. So we're able to give you material in different languages. So here's an indicator of different materials that you can get: posters, toolkits, indicator cards, shoe cards. Now, shoe cards are little tiny cards, kind of like a key ring card that somebody could put in their shoe if they are a victim, and you really can't talk to them, but you want to give them that, they could put it in their shoe to put it in their oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even in presenter mode. Sorry about that. to put it in their shoe. We have indicator cards, tear sheet, pamphlets, and we also have, you see the picture in the middle, That's a Native American women. What we did was the tribes came to us and said, listen, we need posters with people that look like us. So we worked with the Native American community, and we did posters with Native American women on there and children, so that when people look at posters in certain locations, they could see pictures of themselves. So like I said, we have it in 28 languages, but we also have it in different what the people look like too. And so what we do with that is a lot of the airports, they put them in the bathrooms because if the female is being trafficked and she's going to the bathroom, she could see these posters, and you can have tear cards in the bathroom. I know that in one bathroom in Arizona, the traffickers kept ripping down the posters in the bathroom, and so they had to put it behind a glass so the traffickers can't rip down the posters. But they have all this material that you could use in your work environment to give out or work with and educate your coworkers and people that you see. So we also have Wear Blue Day, which is January 11th, and that we ask that people wear blue, take pictures. This is different images. The one on the left is Los Angeles International Airport went blue. Wear Blue Day, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is in the middle. They had a Zoom meeting, everybody's wearing blue. And then in Twitter, the Twitterverse, which I'm really not involved with, is 72.5 million impressions, 11.6 thousand tweets, and 3.2 thousand posts on Wear Blue Day. So that gives you a chance to promote human trafficking in the workplace, but also gives the people who work there a chance to be part of trafficking and trafficking awareness. So, but the Blue Lightning, it's not only airlines and air carriers with the airports, the retailers in the airports, the associations, the hospitality industry, which is hotels, aviation businesses, training institutes, flight schools, and things like that. So it started with airline crew, pilots, and flight crew, and it expanded over the years to basically anybody with aviation. We also do have a separate maritime one that we're working on, and we do work with law enforcement also. So it's the partnering with BLI is just expanding and expanding. So how does the aviation industry play a role in this community? So by raising awareness, obviously, and supporting survivors, training your staff and using the training modules for virtual or in training. This is considered an in-person, even though it's virtual. And you can come out and you can hold classes on human trafficking. You could do public awareness displays like we talked about. Work with your local NGOs and service providers in your local area on human trafficking. And then another important thing is survivor employment opportunities. So you could work with your NGOs and say, hey, we'd like to hire a couple of survivors to work with us. Maybe not even working in the trafficking environment, maybe just working in your organization, just doing regular work. It doesn't have to be trafficking work. Don't forget, people who've been trafficked, especially in the sex trafficking industry, a lot of them have criminal records, prostitution, and they try to work with the NGOs to get those off their records. But because of their criminal record, because they were a victim and people, the law enforcement community did not treat them as a victim, they have criminal records. And if you could open up employment to survivors, that would be an excellent way to have work in the human trafficking industry. So when you have somebody with human trafficking, what do you do with the person? And First of all, what you do not do is confront them. Okay, that's up to law enforcement to confront somebody. You're not law enforcement, so you never confront the trafficker, never confront the victim. Leave that to the law enforcement authorities. First thing you should do is try to get as much details about the person, whether name, address, what they look like, IDs, anything you could get about the person to ID the person, ages, how many people involved, what are they wearing, what ethnicity are they? Do they have any tattoos? Do they, what their hair color is? And then any travel details that you have or any details that you have about what they're doing, whether you could see them in a car and get a license plate, or you heard them get called a name. And then also any human trafficking indicators that led you to believe that a call should be made. So on the ground, so we have two ways of reporting. We have in flight. So if anybody is in flight, they can report it actually on the plane. But on the ground, you call the U.S. Tip line. And the reason why I say don't call 911 unless it's an emergency is because 911 is for an emergency. Human trafficking cases are not like a drug case or a gun case. Somebody has a weapon, that's a tangible object. They have a weapon, we're going to arrest you. Someone has drugs, that's tangible, we're going to arrest you. That's immediate. Human trafficking cases do not work that way. Often, there's a lot of investigation behind the scenes, and then they sometimes the victim has to be away from their trafficker for a while before they even acknowledge that they were a victim. So when you call 911, when you think you have a trafficking case, the person is not going to see a police officer and run to them and say, thank you, help me, I've been held as a trafficker and forced to do prostitution. That's not going to happen in trafficking cases. So we don't encourage the call 911. Now, I will say that if you as an airport are working with the law enforcement teams on human trafficking teams already, then call them. But my suggestion is call the tip line, the federal tip line, because we have resources that the locals don't have. So if that person has been traveling from state to state, we could see that. We have access to all that information. If they've been traveling internationally, we have access to their passport information, to application and addresses, emails, all that information. Because they were flying, we have access to all that information. And that information is not available to local law enforcement. So what you're doing is you're alerting the trafficker that you are onto them and that you could put the victim in danger by having police come. Now, like I said before, you also, in the news lately, there's been a couple of cases of people calling 911 and them showing up on trafficking cases. And one, it turned out not to be trafficking cases, but two, even if it was, they're not going to recognize it right away because that's not the way trafficking cases work. So usually what the airlines do is they call like into their security desk, and usually the security desk vets it and then sends it to the tip line. Now I would say that your organization, whatever you have and your protocols in place, that's what you follow. I don't know what those protocols are, but you follow the protocols that they put in place for you. And then this little brochure that's up here, reporting a human trafficking tip. We made this form because a lot of people were asking, well, what happens after we get a tip? Well, I'll tell you one thing that's not going to happen. You're not going to be updated with the tip. What's happening because it's a criminal investigation. We do not update the general public on criminal investigations. So that's not one. You're not going to call up and say, hey, I got a tip. What's going on with it? You can ask us on the side, we got this tip. Did anything come of it? And we can give you some feedback, yes or no. But we're not going to tell you what's going on with an ongoing investigation. And I know a lot of people have problems with that because they're like, I called in the tip. But there are privacy laws, and in a criminal investigation, there are privacy laws also. So we can't just talk about a criminal case. However, if there's immediate danger, always call 911. If somebody is being physically harmed or is in immediate danger, always call 911. Here is just the two different numbers. The one on the left is to call the Homeland Security tip line. And the one on the right, if a victim needs help, then that's the National Trafficking Hotline. Okay, so I went through that so fast. And so does anybody have any questions?
All right. Any questions in the room? Naomi. What's an NGO, Lisa? Can you explain what an NGO is?
I'm sorry. Non-government organization. So
That's
you
good. Fair
have
question.
like National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They're an NGO, non-government organization. They're basically government adjacent organizations that assist in people. So like abuse shelter, domestic violence shelters and things like that. So so I suggest that you look up NGOs in your area to start working with them if you want to.
Awesome. Anyone else in the room?
Will we be able to get printed copies of phone numbers so we could keep them on our?
Yeah, actually, this, it's interesting. This is actually like phase one of a very robust, marketing campaign that's going to happen airport wide. So just really wanted to introduce the topic to this group today, and we'll definitely have lots of materials to distribute everywhere. Yeah.
Yes, and
Good question.
so what will happen is once you get the training platform and you start looking at the videos, you will see all the indicators that I'm talking to. We'll talk in length on them. So like you said, this is just an introduction and just to give you a brief overview of what it is. So when they introduce more stuff, you know what a basis is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. Yes,
Thank you.
Donna, go ahead.
We've had a couple incidents this year.
Here, hold on. Let me give you the mic. It'll make it a little easier. It's okay. It's just easier for them to hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So specifically 2 weeks ago, we had an incident where we had to call the port police to meet one of our flights because we had 2 little boys on a flight that we got a car message that it was possible trafficking. And we had the police meet the flight and pull the gentleman that was with the 2 kids off the plane and take them aside and talk to them. Is that something that we should not be doing, is calling the police for that?
I would say that you would follow your protocol, because if you had 2 boys on a flight and you thought they were in immediate danger, then call the police. But my suggestion is call the tip line, and maybe they would have ICE come meet the plane, and they would have the law enforcement agents come meet the plane.
Yeah. In this case, if that's what your management advised you to do and what your protocol told you to do, then there's certainly, at least in my opinion, nothing wrong with following protocol. Perfect. Too.
So as he develops the program and within specific for your port, management will develop policies on what you should be doing moving forward.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a great question. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us. Thank you very much for sharing the information. Let's give Lisa a round of applause.
Thank you.
I was mentioning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I was mentioning earlier that we're kind of in the infancy of initiating or rolling out the Blue Lightning Initiative here at PDX. I'd really like to say thank you to Jonathan Walton, although he's not in the room, with the TSA, Michael Kamal, also with DHS, for introducing the topic. Sergeant Hepp with our police force, also involved in that. It's interesting, our airline partners get a lot more training on Blue Lightning Initiative, I think through their platforms that they have, but the airport community is vast, right? It goes from roadway to runway. We've got folks in the rental car center. We've got folks in concessions. We've got folks that do services, folks that are in, our parking and ground transportation business. there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily get this focused training. So what we've done is we've entered into a memorandum of understanding with the DHS. So we'll be having a lot more materials that we put out on our airport website. You'll see signage in our restrooms that'll be forthcoming. Lots and lots of stuff coming on this, but it's a very important topic. And, oftentimes we think about, the PDX People program as a customer service program, but it's much bigger than that. It's about how we treat one another, how we look out for one another, how we look out for our passengers. And really, the Blue Lighting Initiative is just another layer of that. So, in my opinion, it fits really well into what we do. It really is something that we should all be aware of and do what we can to help this absolutely horrific thing that happens at our airport. So, thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
With that, I'm going to transition into a little bit of a different vibe here. We're going to be talking about our quarterly awards. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce or bring up our working committee members. I've got a few folks in the room, Doreen, Naomi, and Miranda, who are going to be reading some of our customer service stories. And, I mentioned this before, but, PDX People is all about our airport employee culture. And we've got folks that are from different industries here. And we're going to be reading each of their names. When you hear your name called, you're welcome to come up to the front of the room. We've got some awards here for you. Please don't leave without us taking a group photo. I've been told that's a mandatory thing. We got to make sure we do it. Yeah, it's nice. And if you don't feel comfortable, it's cool. I get it, But if you're comfortable, we'd love to get a group photo at the end. So without any further ado, I'm going to take the first one, Ken Tucker with Alaska Airlines. Come on up, Ken. Yeah, let's give Ken a round of applause. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, oh yeah, you want to grab Ken's award? Cool. All right, perfect. All right, here's Ken. Hi, Ken. All right, so I'm going to read Ken's story. And this is a compliment he received from a fellow employee. A person grieving the loss of a family member was attempting to get a ticket home, but was short on funds. Eventually, the man arrived at our counter, and Ken waited on him. He told Ken about his loss and that he had no money for a ticket. He was grieving and desperate to get his family, to get to his family, and was asking for help. Ken explored options for the gentleman. When it became obvious that there were none, Ken, out of his own bank account, purchased a ticket for the man so that he could get home. This is the character of our Ken. If there was ever a kinder soul, I don't know who it could be. I truly believe that this brand of generosity and caring should be recognized on a grand scale. Thank you for being you, Ken. It's an honor to get to work with you. Thank you so much, Ken. Congratulations. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. You're welcome to take a seat. Perfect. And next, I'm going to invite up Doreen to read the next couple of awards.
Hello, everybody. All right. So Lindsay is not here, but let's go ahead and carry on and speak about her. So Lindsay Traver. Lindsay has been with SSP America for over 10 years, and she always goes above and beyond. We couldn't be prouder of the work she does every day. She is one of the pillars our SSP family stands on. Now, this specific acknowledgement comes from a guest that sent her a snail mail card to thank her personally. Waiting for a plane has rarely been such a treat as being at Hopworks last Wednesday and watching all of your people doing such an enthusiastic job. The beer was good and the pretzel was astounding. Fresh and hot is quite different experience than a bag on a plane. I was there a few months ago and was delighted to see many of the same people still here. Retention of good people is so important these days. Thanks again for the good food, good beer, and good company. So that's for Lindsay. She's not here. All right. And this next one would be for Mitchell Ryan. Come on up, Mitchell. Yay, Mitchell. All right. So Mitchell is with Parodies. Mitchell received the following compliment from his manager. So Mitchell started in our warehouse recently, and he was quiet at first, but he has now become one of the most influential and fun personalities in a place that needed a moral boost. He leads by example and shows leadership with his work ethic. He is always on task, and when he is done with his assignments, he will help others or ask management for something more to do. His positive attitude reflects on everyone around him and improves the atmosphere at work. He has shown his coworkers that it is just part of the job, and I often catch him sweeping the warehouse and sweeping in the hallway after a long day's work. So when the morning crew comes in, it is ready to go and looks good. His can-do attitude is a great addition to our team. Great job, Mitchell. All right, Miranda.
Hello, everyone. My name's Miranda. I work for SP Plus here at the parking department, and it's my pleasure to introduce Shauna Churchill, who should be here today. Come on up, Miss Shauna. Absolutely. Shauna works for Dollar Rent-A-Car. Shauna received the following compliment from a longtime customer. I rent cars at PDX almost every weekend, and I go back to Dollar because their employees go above and beyond, especially Shauna. She remembers me and always greets me by name with a beaming smile. One time I mentioned I had a head cold, and without hesitation, she grabbed me a cup of tea. Her customer service is second to none. Thank you, Shauna. It's also my pleasure to introduce Jesse Fenton. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but this is Jesse's second nomination. And the reason he couldn't be here today is he worked a double. Just a slight plug because he's my employee. He's amazing. But Jesse actually received two incredible compliments. His hard work is definitely paying off. The first compliment is my flight was late arriving at PDX. I needed to make it out to my car in the blue economy lot, and it turns out I wrote the lane number written down incorrectly. The shuttle driver attempted to help me find my car, but when it wasn't in the lane, he suggested I ask Jesse, the night watch driver. Jesse called the office and found a recorded lane that matched my license plate. It was very late and dark by this time, and he stayed with me until I found and started my car. Thank you for offering this helpful service and hiring wonderful employees like Jesse. I am so grateful. The second compliment comes from another customer. Last night, Jesse came to our rescue and jump-started our Prius. It was nearly midnight. We were exhausted and then distraught to discover a dead battery. Within 15 minutes of our request for help, Jesse arrived in his truck with a great attitude and a pair of jumper cables. He knew exactly how to jump-start a Prius and guided us through the process to ensure the battery would fully charge. I don't know what he gets paid working the graveyard shift, but last night it was not enough to compensate him for helping us. Thank you, Jesse, and thank you, PDX Parking. Here comes Naomi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Naomi, and I am with the TSA. So our first person is not able to be here today. This is Kenyon McCrae. We lovingly refer to him as Kenny. He is our customer support specialist. So if you've ever had a reason to give TSA some feedback, which we super welcome, TSA is going to have you talk to Kenny here in Oregon. So Kenny has a couple different responsibilities throughout TSA with PDX, and one of the things that he has helped out with is Lost and Found. Thank you, Jill, for you and your team being so flexible with all of that fun stuff. And so they sent this in for Kenny. So Kenyon came to our rescue during a recent staffing challenge in Lost and Found. We needed help, and he stepped up in a big way. His friendly personality and willingness to assist for a month of Dropbox pickup and deliveries is simply remarkable. Internal customer service helps build a stronger PDX family. From the entire Lost and Found team, thank you, Kenyon. Up next, we have Francisco Evanato Jr. II, who is also not able to be here today. Francisco received 2 compliments this past quarter, so I'm going to go through both of those today. Airport operations is often synonymous with service to a degree that it becomes easy to overlook when a particular action goes above and beyond reasonable expectations. So when I, someone accustomed to your high service levels, am surprised by the level of service provided, it's a big deal. Francisco assisted a family who was looking for a missing family member. He had landed at PDX but never exited the concourse and only spoke, I'm going to mispronounce this and I highly apologize, Shukis. The airlines and police assisted as they could, but neither was able to locate the missing man. After an hour, Francisco located the missing individual. Unfortunately, by then, his waiting family had disappeared and there was no way to contact them. For 3 hours, Francisco rallied translators, Facebook Messenger, and a cousin in Idaho until he eventually found the family members. While this was not technically Francisco or anyone's job, it was nonetheless a job needing to be done. I'm grateful Francisco was on duty that afternoon, and no doubt the family is as well. That's just one of the compliments he received. The second being recently, Francisco responded to a distraught person who drove her camper into a parking garage, which turned out to be too low for her vehicle, and she was now stuck. Francisco reached out for assistance from SP Parking, shout out, and port personnel to assist in freeing the vehicle. In addition, he used his personal people skills in calming down the frustrated driver while working on a solution. After a lot of teamwork, critical thinking, and extra special efforts from Francisco, the vehicle was freed and exited safely from the garage. Thank you, Francisco. One more. All right, and I got one more. Arthur Robinson, I think you're here today. Arthur, come on up, my friends. Arthur with the gorgeous pink tie works for Bags Inc. Arthur received this following compliment from a fellow PDX employee. Arthur was working inside a PDX when he noticed that outside a passenger had fallen out of their car and into the roadway. Oh no! I'm getting worked up, Arthur. Arthur jumped into action without a second thought and assisted the passenger into a chair and stayed with them and their family until they got to their gate. The family was traveling that was very distraught, but Arthur maintained composure to help alleviate the situation and make sure they stayed safe during their time at PDX. Arthur continuously goes above and beyond helping passengers. He is a shining example of extraordinary customer service here at PDX. Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you. All right. So I have the honor of the last two categories. The first category is our team awards. So if I could please have Annie Logan, Bill Igmanson, and Stacy Aureliano come on up, please. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, they have individual photos here, but for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to bring this one up. Teamwork makes the dream work here. An Oregon Electric Group does a tremendous amount of things here at PDX, but this is a wonderful story. They received the following compliment from a fellow PDX employee. While a group of Oregon Electric Group employees were leaving for the day, they encountered a person experiencing a medical emergency. They were in the south tunnel and a traveler collapsed on the moving sidewalk. Bill Ingmanson, an OEG employee, sprang into action to help the man. He managed the area. There were many travelers around. He stayed calm and followed proper first aid training. Bill, Annie, and Stacy directed the moving walkway to be shut off, called the communication center, checked vitals, and kept companions of the falling individual calm until medical services showed up and took over. So thanks to each of you for jumping into action. Thanks for working as a team. It's really just a microcosm of what we love to see here. So thank you so much. Congratulations. Yeah. And then last but not least, I know that our first responders couldn't be here. None of them could be, but we did extend an invitation to the person who sent this award in. Every so often we get an award nomination that comes in from a traveler or comes in from a fellow employee that very clearly saves somebody's life. And, first responders, are trained to respond to certain situations like this, but it's very clear to us that this one made a major difference. So I have their photos up here. They all work in the fire department. Our director and fire chief came in from our public safety group. So thank you both, Beverly and Rob, for being here. So this is for Justin Heidman, Matthew Pixley, Preston Scott, Dylan Congrove, Matt Dull, and Garrett Bancroft. I'm going to go ahead and read this story. So I had an unfortunate experience of collapsing from a heart attack while at PDX most recently. I called 911 and and members of your PDX emergency response team came to my aid immediately. Their care, kindness, preparedness undoubtedly saved my life. I write this to ask you that you to forward my deepest appreciation for their efforts, and that you note the great team that you have. If it had happened, it happened at the right time with the right people there for me. You can all be proud of the services you offer to this community. A heartfelt thank you to you all. So let's give them all a round of applause. And with that, we have officially concluded our awards ceremony. Thank you all for coming. It really does mean a lot to us as a community that you were able to come. There's lots of food left over, I'm sure, outside, so please take some sandwiches with you and some chips and grab a beverage to go. We'll get our winners to come up. By the way, if you haven't already grabbed a swag bag, please grab one for our winners. We've got some winter essentials in there. We've got beanies. We've got reusable hot and cold kits here. There's some gift cards at Freddy's. Anyways, please do. So thank you again. Let's all give us a final round of applause. All right, and let's get our winners up to the front. We'll get a group photo.